I am back from Tokyo, but 2 minutes ago, no, I didn't set things up that fast, but like 3 minutes ago, I just came in the door, so let me tell you a story. I was intending to make videos while I was in Tokyo, but then it was the nature of the beast that there was simply no time for that because it was so busy, and that's a good thing. So first of all, let's just talk about first, things are up on the screen. One of the first things I want to tell you about is a part of the process while I was out there working through this previous week on the website. If you're into these tabletop RPGs, as I am, like I keep promoting up here or here, wherever it is, we've changed it now that if you go over to check it out, any account that is created going forward is created having been preloaded with 60 embers. What are embers? Embers are the on-site currency that allows you to make art on our website. So now, rather than going over and just looking at the community creations, like what else is everybody else making right now that you could check out and use in your games, you'd be able to go there and you can make 6 different pieces of art. So that was a big upgrade that we did, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope it encourages more people to actually go over and check out the website. So with that out of the way, let's tuck in, shall we? So first of all, having been away from Japan for a year, one of the biggest things that I would enjoy, of course, is to hop on the Shinkansen. It is just so smooth, so quiet, and they're so constantly running. It boggles my mind. Like, this really is such an incredible achievement for, I don't know, engineering, that these things run, when I say these things, I'm talking about the Shinkansen, they run like every 7 minutes. And I'm just thinking, all of the management that must occur, and for how many years that they do this flawlessly, other than when they have, major events, say for example, like rainstorms or snowstorms and stuff like that. So it is such a great way to travel Japan. I doubt very many people who watch my channel now have not actually been to Japan. You probably know this as well as I do now, since it's a lot of people are very interested in the culture and have often visited. But if you haven't, if you're one of the 2 or 3 people who are still tuning in and you've not been to Japan and you have the opportunity, or you can give yourself the reason to take the Shinkansen, it's wonderful. Get a window seat if you're going from Tokyo to Kyoto, or vice versa, of course. You would be able to see Mount Fuji, so that's a cool thing that you can see out of the window as you're going along. But just the Japanese countryside in itself is a wonderful thing to take in while you're riding. Maybe you got a little lunch obento before you came, and so you can enjoy some food. And I loved it. I loved it so much. It was nice. I went up, and Wednesday was the first night that I was there. I was heading in, and who did I see but Dustin and his lovely wife. We hung out for dinner. We went to some Japanese Hamburg, which I've not done, I think, since I came to Japan, like 10 years ago now, and it was at one of the first schools that we went out to, because honestly, I'm not that impressed by this particular, that they actually make this a niche thing, that you just get a big hamburger. But it's good. It's delicious, and I hadn't done it in so many years. I wanted to try it. So that was excellent. Taste is awesome. And they had these tomatoes that they had stuffed full of some of their vegetables and done a bunch of interesting things too. So the appetizer was excellent as well. And then after we had dinner, it was suggested that, hey, why don't we go over and check out this cool bar? And I can't remember the name of the bar, but it was very much of the sort of rich mahogany leather seats kind of thing. But the feature of this was that once you had gone upstairs, the whole side of the bar was a huge, 15-foot window. And out the window, you could see the Tokyo Skytree, which is in kind of the Kinshicho area, which is where I was checking out. It's crazy to me, if you actually talk to people who are living in Tokyo, they might tell you, Kinshicho is sort of like up and coming. It's maybe not one of the most popular neighborhoods, but it's so developed. It's so mega city. It's interesting to me because it's all what you grow accustomed to, right? What you're used to. And I was struck by that this is no less mega than anything else in Tokyo. But for people who live there, they might view it somewhat humbly, which was an interesting take on the whole thing. That's good. It's good to be humble. So our dinner was fantastic. We had a really good conversation. As I had said, actually, before I made this video, before going out, I was talking about how Dustin had opened his school. His school is doing excellent. You know, I wasn't sure. I wouldn't be able to confirm until I spoke to the guy, but actually speaking to him now, they're doing great. They're getting lots of students. They predictably each April see a big boom in terms of their registration numbers because, like, oh God, I've only been away for like, you know, a short period of time, but it's like that's around when the school year starts. So I think, and so that's why they were getting this bump in attendance, but it's awesome for them. I'm so happy that, well, anybody who undertakes something like that, right? The whole thing, I mean, jobs are a risk, but businesses, to pour investment into something that may be a dead end. And I think almost always, almost necessarily, it's just a part of the game, like with a lot of hesitancy, with a lot of reasons that you could rationalize yourself out of trying to do this in the first place. You could find, if you wanted to, so many reasons why you shouldn't start that school. You know, Tokyo is expensive, the market is saturated, you know, whatever it might be. But then this huge step out, just a moment onto the water, a brief moment of faith. Midnight Mass, you got to check it out. That is such an incredible show. Incredible for them. It's wonderful, and you love to see your friends succeed and going in that direction. And I mean, they're succeeding now. They live good lives. They love each other. You know, just go with that basis, and I think everything else might be extra afterwards, provided you have a roof over your head and you can feed yourself. But that was really cool. Just great. So I was staying at, that's like my night out. I went to visit them. The place that I was staying at was Shimbashi, and I've totally, like, I know parts of Tokyo, but there's so many stations there. It's hard for me to remember specifically like what the flavor of each neighborhood is, but mine was most certainly an adult district. It was like, excuse me, it was like nurse cafes, maid cafes, lady cafes, snack bars, everywhere, all the ladies lining the street. And so that was, well, it's fascinating to see, of course, if you've not been amongst it for some time. And maybe because I was a man on a mission, you know, but I wasn't, or I'm hideous. But if you would usually walk down there, you'd have a lot of people like propositioning you and speaking to you and, you know, pulling you into the massage bar, the snack bar, the whatever it might be. But I was only approached like once in the evening, and I attribute that to, as I say, I look like I'm going somewhere and I've got something to do. No time for these funny business games, but it may be something else. I don't know. But that whole area is like, it's super neon, glitzy glow. I do have, upon personal reflection though, the thing that annoys me about it, this is for me, it's not like actually an outward projection, it's like, it's a shame for me, is that it is exactly the kind of place that would be so atmospheric to shoot. For example, like if I could draw a parallel, it would be like, I did a video, I think it's the trailer on my channel now, it's like Shinsaibashi, like dirty, filthy, perfect. I love that neon glow, nightlight, raw humanity in all its good and bad shapes. And doing that here, you just have to be such a ninja, because if you're not, like you just, first rule is you don't film any of the women. And if you do, you're inviting to be, you know, spoken to in a quite stern way. Obviously, they don't want to be filmed. But then it's tough because there would be so many women lining the streets that, like, if you do these angles, and you almost may inadvertently have offended someone. So it's a bummer because it would be so fascinating to film this place. But I can just see when I was looking around that this would be so hard not to run afoul of people. I think if you were really ambitious, you can do it. You just have to, as I say, you have to be a ninja. You have to be thoughtful. You have to pick your spots. And you have to be ready that if somebody does get annoyed with you, you couldn't get surprised by that. Because in these areas, to not put the camera in a direction where somebody might be in it that doesn't want to be there can be exceedingly difficult. But it was still fun to wander around there because I haven't been in downtown Tokyo in over a year now. So that was cool. I really enjoyed that. And the place that I stayed at was what it was called, Anshin Oyado Capsule Hotel. And it was great, really good. Like you go in, you're probably going to pay about $60 US, I would say, to stay there for a night. That's the charge for the night. And I'm a huge fan, as you may know. I'm always talking about it on the channel, but I love I love saunas, I love cold baths, I love hot baths. I love being able to sleep after I do these things because it stops my mind from racing. I really enjoy that. And this place, it didn't have an official one, but what it had in its downstairs was a mineral bath that they had like pumped their own minerals into, and that was nice. And they had a steam room, so that was pretty cool. I usually prefer the dry sauna, but a steam room was very cool as well. They had another floor that you could go to. Oh, they also had a cold shower, which, I mean, it's almost a necessity after you're doing the hot bath, so you gotta have something like that. They had another floor that you could go to where it was their lounge room, where you could there was some massage chairs there. There's some manga that you can read through. You know, you can pick anything from the little mini library that they have there. They actually had like some soup and some curry, and this was all service, all for free, included with the cost that you had paid for your capsule that evening. And then a big one for me is that the capsules have air conditioning. So I've been in places before where the capsule had nothing in it, and you put that you just fill that room up. Say the floor has got like 30 people sleeping in this like floor, and they're all like, so the body heat emitted from that is incredible. And then if you don't have an air conditioner in that capsule, you're not gonna have a nice time. But this place they did. So they said they did, but when I got in, I was like, okay, so the room is air conditioned, but when I went into my capsule at first, there was only a fan in there. So I was like, that's a bit of a white lie, because it's not really an air conditioner in my capsule. But the fact that the floor was air conditioned, well, I suppose that does enough. And once the fan was going, that's a little bit extra. Now, as a salty sea dog veteran of capsule hotels in the time that I was staying in Japan, I enjoyed the novelty of them, and you cannot deny they're just so cheap. So if ever I were to do one of my world famous videos, I would book a capsule hotel usually and go and stay there. So I like it, but as I say, there's these ups and downs. Here's what I'm trying to get at. The one thing I know is that if you're going to go to a capsule hotel, there's going to be snoring. So that's the first thing that might burst somebody's bubble when they're staying at one of these places. Is they're like, oh my God, sorry, keep hitting the mic. Oh my God, there are people snoring here. How was I ever to fall asleep? Well, it's a bunch of drunk salarymen out in Shimbashi that are, whoring and drinking and like going crazy. So you can imagine there's a fair bit of snoring, which can be pretty funny. Now, that's me knowing this. I bring in the Mimisen, being the earplugs that you're going to use to make sure that is not a problem for yourself, but to no avail. So an incredible subscriber, actually, the headphones that I have now, they're like the Super Shekshi MX500s or whatever. Subscriber had given those to me. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if he still tunes into the videos, but those are awesome. And one of their key ingredients is that they have noise canceling. So you can put those on whether you're on the train, walking around. Sometimes it's not even for the music, it's just that I can shut out how loud everything is, which is a good reason to wear them. And I had a guy that was sleeping not one capsule over, but one capsule over and down from me that sounded like Gojira, how loud this guy was snoring. I actually took a video, not of him. I didn't like point the camera out the capsule and point it at him. That would be rude. I wouldn't do that. But I did just do like an Instagram story where I recorded the sound that he was making. And to add insanity to injury, to insult, the way that this guy would snore was that it would be this brutal tear for about 5 to 9 seconds, and then it would stop. And it would be for some indeterminate period of time, somewhere again between 10 and 30 seconds, that he'd do his next round. And so just when you thought you had found peace, he'd come clap back at you with another crazy snore sesh. And for the first 2 nights that I stayed there, first night was like shame on them. Second night, shame on me for not figuring this out. But those 2 nights, what it ended up being is that they had the onsen open until 2 o'clock. I'd go down there and I'd run the clock out on the onsen, getting relaxed, and then I'd go back to the bed, and I would just wait until this guy had to get up in the morning that I could then fall asleep. And before this, what I was trying to do was noise-canceling headphones plus earplugs, noise-canceling headphones over top of this, and I could still hear the guy. He's a legend. He's an absolute legend. I can only imagine, like that dude does not sleep in the same room as his partner. Let me tell you right now. No way, no how. Or they're an absolute masochist and he's a sadist, and that's the way it works. But who am I to judge? So that was my experience at the Capsule Hotel. So it was pretty funny. Although on the 3rd night that I was there, I went down to the front desk and I was like, hey guys, I mean, I hope it's no trouble, but it's fine. I expect people to snore, but this guy is just crazy. It's so loud. I'm doubling up with everything to try and block it out, but it's too much. Is there a chance I can go to another floor? They said no problem. And then when I got down to there, the floor was amazing. So first of all, the Capsule Hotel, or the capsule that I was put in, first of all, that actually had an air conditioner in it. So it was like, they do have air conditioners. It's just not that every capsule has an air conditioner. So that was the first cool thing, no pun intended. And then the second was, on this floor were about 6 people. So I was like, why was I up in the steerage when on this floor there's like nobody here? And I had a fantastic sleep, so that was great. But now we're going to jump in the timeline somewhat. That was like all the nights I spent there, so I could cover the Capsule Hotel, but let's talk about the other things in the days that I was in Tokyo. So on Wednesday I got up, and one of the things that I wanted to do while I was in Tokyo is that I was going to go visit the Google offices. And I met up with a fantastic gentleman there. We had a nice lunch, and we talked about putting the Gemini API into the website. And so figured out that a little bit more. And just seeing the Google offices was interesting. I didn't go to too many floors. We went to like a cafe floor, and we went to the cafeteria that they have there. So I won't beat a dead horse to dwell there for too long, but yeah, Google offices, pretty cool. People are getting Google lunches. They're doing not too bad. It's pretty decadent, let me say. Very nice. Obviously, that is not paid for if you're an employee there, which is impressive. I mean, when you think that the next closest thing as I have as a comparison to this is the Japanese school lunches, which are really quite good. I think that's one of the most incredible things you could have here if you're raising kids as well, as they get access to those lunches. But in terms of provided for by whatever system or company, yeah, Japanese school system, very impressive. And I'm sure we're all shocked to hear that Google is pampering the people that they employ there. So that was good too. So I had that meeting in the afternoon, and then I went out after that in the evening to meet up with my friend Sam. And I have this wonderful, I'd never actually been one of these people who was really into Polaroids, but you know, after hanging out with Sam this time, I don't know, that this physical thing to have afterwards, I think it was his Polaroid camera, was really cool. So Sam of Tikyo Sam fame, he and I met up in, where were we meeting? We were meeting up in Golden Guy, and if you don't know Golden Guy, it's this, God, I'm trying to think of it. I get screwed up with like Shinjuku, needless to say, Tokyo is big. So let's not dwell on exactly where Golden Guy is. I could figure that out afterwards, so could you. Golden Guy is famous for all these tiny little hole-in-the-wall bars that people go to. They got some really cool themes and reasonable drinks. You're not going to pay an arm and a leg. And I met Sam there, but we were going to go for dinner. And we went to a cool little izakaya. I haven't been to too many izakayas since I've been back. And that was great. I did find it kind of funny. And Sam stands up for himself, especially in the sense that he's perfectly fluent, right? So he's not going to abide by if somebody's, jerking him around a little bit. And we could just tell when we went into the izakaya, it was like we went up to this floor and they were like, oh, you sit over here. And we were like, what the? It was like bumping and happening. There's like people enjoying stuff over there. And it was like they were going to put us in a dark corner. And he was like, no, we're not going to go there. How about over there? And she was like, really? Are you sure you want that? And he's like, yeah, I think we do. So we went over to the more lively area, and that was cool. It was nice to be amongst the people and to feel a part of that energy. We had a really cool conversation, and then the big old sweetheart, he starts talking about how in Japan they have this, well, we might as well have it in the West, or I don't know other places that do this, but it's the idea that like bad things come in three, but in Japan, they'll often say good things come in three too. So he was focusing on that. He was like, they might say that bad things come in three. I think you've had some bad things, Dave, but I've also seen some good things happening in your life. And I see now with the advent of your business that this is perhaps the third and greatest good thing that you'll do right now. And so he had constructed for me this sort of Asian spiritual bracelet composed of tiger eye and jade. And he said that the tiger eye, it was for focus, that you would stay focused on your path, that you would have a goal and you would move towards it in a purposeful way. And then he said that the jade on it was to represent that wealth would come to you. So these kind of totems, I would call them, these sort of, it's like this, it's these deeply personal artifacts that people give me in my life, and they carry great weight. I mean, it really is as much as you invest in it, but I do, when somebody gives me something so personal and of the moment, I really like that. So that bracelet means a lot to me, and if you ever tune in, Sam, thank you very much for that. So I won't get choked up here because I'm a man, but I am choked up. It was a really kind thing to do and very thoughtful. So that was cool. So we had our dinner there, and that was in itself fine. We were talking about, Sam's doing a lot of translating, which is a very interesting subject to discuss. We finished our dinner there, and then we thought, we're still going to have some fun tonight, and so we went back to Golden Guy. And there was a bar there called Art Bar. And what's cool about this is that, yeah, it's a little hole in the wall, kind of characteristic of the whole Golden Guy thing that I'm talking about in the first place. And that's fun to go into. It's got a lot of personality. Art Bar was its name, if I haven't said that already. But the real sticker for me, and something that I've missed so much since I left Japan, because I love to do this, they had karaoke, or karaoke. They had karaoke. So we sang our little black hearts out, and if you know Sam, again, I've even said it in this video already, he's perfectly bilingual. I mean, he can hone the art a bit more so that his translation skills are up to snuff. Of course he could know more. He could know more about medical documents or tax information and all the sort of vocabulary that might go with that. But in a very broad sense, more than just the day-to-day, Sam can just fire from the hip. And a lot of his practice, a lot of his time spent here, he's learned to sing so many Japanese songs. And of course that slays. Everybody likes that. And it really got the party going. We had some really entertaining songs. I did Stand By Me, which was fun. And I was hitting it, getting the good notes on that one. I've been practicing recently, listening to it. And I got some good compliments. And so, yeah, we lit it up. It was incredibly entertaining. Perhaps a highlight was Fat Girl. That was a highly melodious song that Sam had sung. We got the Weezer in there. We got that I Resisted Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John. That's an easy go-to for me, but I found that I visit my old faves far too often. So as I said, I was trying to do it a little bit different. And it was cool. It was great. We just hung out there singing until I was quite exhausted. It takes a lot out of you to sing, turns out. I can only imagine these artists that do a concert for several hours, and if they've got however many tour dates, what your voice would have to endure to get you to the end of a tour, I think it's underappreciated. It's quite impressive what people do if they're going to sing at length for that long period of time. So there it was. We had that wonderful evening. And then I got back to my place, the Capsule Hotel. This is the second night, so Godzilla was still snoring, and I didn't sleep until the next day. It had me a little shaken up, not getting enough sleep or whatever. So that day, the mission was to meet another friend that I had met while I was teaching in Tsuchiura up in Ibaraki Prefecture. And meeting him was a great time. He really, well, he's living kind of in Kanagawa right now, which is south. It's like Yokohama area, but he was so happy to come up and spend the day, afternoon, whatever you want to say, in Tokyo. So we met up, and the first place that we went to was at, which station was it? Yurakucho, which is right next to Shimbashi, and there they had this Tokyo Ale House where, to keep, by the way, to like keep my longevity when I'm doing this day traveling, like I was not really drinking. I thought, in honor of the people I meet, that if you have a beer with them, I think that's in good taste. You know, have a beer with the friend you haven't seen for ages. But it was so, I could tell even with that, I was like, with the lack of sleep and even just the one beer, and I have been trying to go to the gym, I could feel that cold just like, you know, rubbing its greasy hands off to the side, like just one more, Dave. Yeah. You know, hoping to get me sick, but I didn't have that happen to me. So I have my celebratory beer with them, and at that, what is it, the Tokyo Ale House, they do burgers, and they grind their own beef up there. It was so good. I got like the signature burger. I'm a burger hound. And great cheese, good onions, like caramelized onions. If I'm not, you'd think you would remember this. It just shows what a glutton I am, but pretty sure it was a double patty. You know, I'm just shoveling this in so fast. I should have appreciated that more, but absolutely delicious. So that's how we started out. And then I had this meeting. I met up with, again, the work compatriot. So quickly went into a Starbucks, and we had a chat about like, okay, let's do this and this for the next week. This will be the final week to work, where we are in the home stretch. We'll keep our wits about us. I've no doubt there's a few, well, I don't want to call them minor things, because you always call them minor and then you're like, oh, that actually took a day or two. But we have a week to get it done, and there is nothing that we haven't gotten done on time with a little effort. So met up with my good workmate there. We talked some things out. We're really efficient with that. Wrapped it up so quickly that where I thought I would go back, you know, just like I'm starting to weaken during the day, you know, mid-afternoon, having met up lunch, now this meeting, maybe I should head back. No, I'll see Andrew for a little bit more. So we met up again, and he really wanted to take me to this bar. It was Shambhala, or I was calling it like Shimbubu and like stuff. I can't remember the name. But it was super duper classy. Oh, and before that, he took me to this other ancient brew house that had been there from like 1908 or something like that. Or maybe even earlier, because it was like masonry work inside this tap house where you could get like big Sapporo beers. And it was this crazy masonry work around all the pillars, where it looked so complex when I was looking at it at first. I was like, there's no way that's like stone, that must be wood, and it's like carving. And he's like, no, everything you're looking at in here is all masonry work. So that was cool, and I believe that's done in the traditional kind of German style. You know, obviously we're not in Germany, but it was it looked authentic as all hell when I was in there. So we did that one. That was really cool to see. Threw back a couple of strong ginger ales, which was great. Talked about Dune 2, his opinions regarding that. He always has very interesting opinions regarding film, because we are so different from each other, and that's what I enjoy. That I would never expect or think the things that he does, and when we dug into it, it was very interesting. He's a big fan. He's read all the books. I only read the first one. So that was enjoyable, but then we went to Shibidi Booba, which was like the real fancy bar, and that place was cool. It was like, was he wearing like one of the Master Center was like wearing a white tux, and they're wearing like a baby blue tie, very classy. And the other guy who was there, I know they're on an upraised bar, so it makes them look a little taller than they are, but super tall guy. He was French, and he had N1 level Japanese. And so that's anyone you meet that gets N1 level Japanese, it's just that is a feat, you know. And it's so funny too, when you see people talking about coming to Japan, how casually people be like, yeah, I think I'll just get like N1 or N2. And I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. I mean, I know I'm probably because of my struggles with it, that I probably have a harder go than most people, but even the exceptional will find the N1 is a challenging thing to take on, not to be taken lightly at all. So I had some lovely Wilkinson soda. He, again, my friend, when we were there, he'd been there enough times that there was a gentleman who actually, well, the tall Frenchman who had the N1 Japanese had made a drink named by him, by my friend. And so he had that. I call it challenging but interesting, you know? Where it's these drinks like a Negroni, it's like, I don't think I'm drinking this because I'm like, delicious, but it's interesting. You know, I'm like, what is this flavor? It makes me think while I'm getting drunk, to have that in a juxtaposition to each other. Although I just had a sip, but as I say, his concoction that he had, it was like Aperol or Aperol. I'm not sure how you say Aperol. And I can't remember the other ingredient. That's going to kill me that went into it. But we wrapped up our drinks. It was a really nice conversation again. And then I was like, you know what? You gave me enough time here after the beer hall, after this shibbity booba, like a little classy bar. I'm now ready to eat again. So let's go to one of these cool places. This is a very quintessential, like by the tracks kind of experience that you can have there, where you have tons of loud tables. You have a kitchen that seems to create food at an impossible rate. The quality of everything is through the roof, and they are just churning through customers. So we got into there, I think, with like maybe the last seat that was available in the place. I got to check the battery. Let's see how we're doing. We're at 5 minutes. All right, that's good. So I loved that energy. We got in there, had a little bit more conversation about the future. You know, what'll Dave do? What's going to happen with the business and all that? And will I return to teaching to Japan, to Canada? Oh, it's exciting. Who knows what turns into us will come. And then we wrapped it up. And that was good. You know, I was ready for sleep at that point. So gave each other a good hug goodbye. You know, I'm not sure when I'll see the man again. But it was really cool to see him. And then, so that was Friday, where I was just like, I could only have gotten through this thing, honestly, just waters, lots of waters. I went back, I went to sleep, and then the next morning it was what was it? It was Saturday morning. I knew that my friend, so many social visits here. Saturday morning, I mentioned in a video before I left to go to Tokyo, I was talking about I had this mentor when I was at the private school teaching, and I went to meet him for lunch. And he's sort of perennially stable, which I like meeting people like this in my life. I know you get some people who feel trapped by this kind of stability and predictability in life, but then it's also incredibly comforting. It's like solace from the storm of how insanely random my life is. So I like meeting these people grounded in routines and family and meaningful lives. So I met up with him. We went to just the quality of food, it's just a parade of amazing food in Japan. We went to this barbecue place, had this incredible pulled pork sandwich with like excellent onion rings, and just a killer kitchen for a totally reasonable price, no tipping. It's wonderful. Had a great conversation with him. His family's doing very well. They're growing up so fast. The last time I saw his kid, his boy was like down to here on his shoulder, and now his son's taller than him. He's gone through this growth spurt. So his family's doing well. He's doing well. The school that we worked at, or he continues to work at, he said it's even chilled out a bit more. He said that, in fact, the climate in Japan, he believes, where so long the pendulum had swung to reducing salaries, to bad work conditions, to, X, Y, and Z on the negative things that are happening if you're a teacher in Japan, he feels that it is swinging the other way now, and they are way more invested in getting good work environments for foreign teachers and getting competitive pay for them, because nobody's coming back. After COVID, they kicked everybody out, and now it's really hard. People are like, I don't want to go there, I don't want to live abroad, especially because the salaries were so low as before. So now it's like, I'm going to go and the salaries are low. I don't know. So he thinks that it's coming back the other way, and this can happen. The pendulum swings. I loved that expression when I was in university. It was this Chinese professor, or he was a professor of Chinese history, but he was some white guy, which I failed his course badly. But what a great class. I learned a lot of really interesting stuff in that class. Anyway, so before I lose track of this, hanging out with Phil, great. Good to see him again. We wrapped it up. He's got his stable life going on. I have my friends further up out in Ibaraki. My friend I was going to meet in the evening, and the last time, well, we used to go to this Super Cento in the area that we lived in before, and he told me that he had not actually gone there since we had last visited. So it was cool. We met up. He's got this sick car, like he's poured a lot into it. It's like the Suzuki Swift, but with like all of these sports packages, and like he's upgraded the seats, and he's just done a million different things to it. And it's really, really nice. So he picks me up in this schwanky little cool, hatchback thing he's ripping around in. And we go to the Super Cento, have a great conversation, get a catch up on how his life is going, sweat it out a little bit. And then we went for some yakiniku, which is just excellent. Again, food quality in Japan. Minging. It's so good. Really enjoyed that. Eventually tapped out for the evening there, where I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Mito Station. That's where I have a hotel. And I was at the Smile Hotel, a place that I actually attempted 2 full marathons while I was there. How's the battery? Okay, I'll wrap this up quick. I ran 2 full marathons there. One of them was successful. The second one I failed to complete at 36 kilometers. My legs gave out, and there was a Kairaku Koen, which is like one of the premier amazing parks that are in Japan, and that's like right by Mito. And there's this rubberized beautiful track that goes around a kind of like, I don't know what you want to call it, man-made lake, maybe it's not man-made. And I went there after we had hung out at night, and so at like 1 o'clock or whatever, I went for a walk. It's like 3 kilometers around the thing, and considered my life choices. And it was peaceful and nerve-wracking, things that I consider for the future, but they're gonna be okay. We die a million deaths, one of which will ever be real. But always in my mind, always dying in my mind, always suffering in my mind. But thought it through, and it was all right at the end of it. Woke up the next day, which was today, went and hung out with my friends. We played a one-shot of Dungeons & Dragons. My character was Miromi, the pacifist half-orc berserker. So he wasn't totally sold on pacifism, but he was kind of sick of the violence. And we had a great story told by our game master that day, Gillian. She's from Scotland as well. And it was this cool, I don't know if you've ever read Terry Pratchett, but there's this floating turtle in space. And our story took place on this floating whale. So it had some interesting themes. And we recovered this dagger that was able to cut reality, which reminded me of the Subtle Blade by Philip Glass, his Dark Materials series. Very cool story. Wrapped it up, came back down on the Shinkansen and on one of the Rapid Express trains, and I sit before you now, ready for the next day to hit it, to finish off the business this week. Thank you for checking out this very long-winded video. There's the update. I'll catch you in another one. Peace.